We got our fuel line hooked up and had our fuel filter installed and reinstalled because we put it in backwards. Make sure that you pay attention to those fuel filters direction of flow, because I looked at this one 3 times and still put it in backwards. So something you got to pay attention to. We'll flip the switch on here and see if our fuel pump works and see if this puppy will start. We don't have our cables hooked up to the dash just yet for the enriching unit or the starter, so we'll have to just pull the starter lever manually. Let's see what we get.
How about that, huh? That's 50 pounds of oil pressure. Hard to tell whether it's charging or not. We don't have any water in it just now, so we don't want to run it too long.
Yahoo! Yahoo! Almost ready for a spring drive. We've got a lot of things to clear up before we're out and about. We've got a bit of smoke coming out of the exhaust there because I cut the pipe here, down in here, and tweaked it a little bit to get it pointed in the right direction. We've got to weld that back up, and of course we've got to get the rest of the exhaust on it. But you know, in all fairness, we had this motor running on the engine stand a lot of videos ago, so we did have it pretty well tuned at that point. So if we did our job right, which it appears we did, it should just start and run, which it did. And the next step, quite frankly, is to see if it'll move under its own power with the new clutch and everything in it. So that might take a bit. Yeah, we've got a few other things to clear up before we're ready to do that. But progress, always a good sign. It's too bad you can't transfer the smell of gasoline in these videos. So what we're going to do here, we're going to talk about parts a little bit. This is the drain plug from the fuel tank. And to be very honest with you, I'd like to know who the idiot was that decided it was a good idea to put this fuel drain plug right above the rear cross member so that you can't get anything in there to catch the fuel while it's coming out of the tank. But I digress. We ordered some gaskets for our fuel tank plug and our pickup from a vendor who shall remain nameless, and we got these nice looking fiber something or other washers. The problem is they're sort of worthless. That really doesn't fit. And you don't find out that it really doesn't fit and doesn't seal, of course, until you put fuel in the fuel tank. The one that was on there was quite a bit thicker, had a smaller OD. In fact, it just barely fit over the threads. So somebody in their infinite wisdom decided it was a good idea to make it like this. Well, guess what? It wasn't. So I've been coming out to the shop after we've had fuel in the tank, and I keep smelling fuel. Lucky it didn't blow the building up, to be honest with you. Couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Both this fitting and the pickup fitting are just seeping fuel around these gaskets that are really worthless. If you're going to make something, make it right. This goes hand in hand with the oil pressure feed line for the gauge that I got that promptly disconnected itself when I went to try to hook it up to the gauge. What they do is they have a piece of tubing and they solder a little nub on the end, a little ferrule. The little ferrule was just barely poked in the tubing, was just barely poked into the ferrule, and then some solder lumped on there. And as soon as I tightened it up, it just fell apart. So had to take the whole thing apart, start all over again, resolder it myself. So guys, if you're a parts vendor, do it right. And if you're the guy that's getting the parts, don't take anything for granted just because some parts supplier sent it to you that says it should work. I wished I had the original gaskets that I cut off of here. I had to pry them off the plug, otherwise I'd show you the difference, but take it from me, they were quite a bit thicker material to begin with, and the OD was a lot smaller so that it just doesn't flop over the fitting. How do you know when you flop that on there that that thing is going to stay centered? If it falls off to one side like that, you're toast, literally. So I looked around the shop and we've got these seals. We call them Dowdy seals. I don't know what anybody else calls them, but it's a metal band with an O-ring in the middle and a little lip seal, and that fits a little better. It's still not as good as it should be, but I'm going to try to see if I can get these to seal up. Otherwise, I'm really lost. I don't have a proper gasket to go on there, and you know, these projects are difficult enough without having parts vendors send you crap that doesn't work. Well, we've got a different outlook on things today. We put the car up on the Jenga blocks because with the quick jacks we had under here, we couldn't really get under the car. So we're kind of down to a punch list now of things to clean up, and we needed to get under the car for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is the floors weren't sitting quite flat. We need to try to figure that out, and I think we were hitting on the front bolt there that mounts the frame to the frame, and got that cut out, and it's kind of hard to work under here. But we also had the lip over there, the return for the bodywork that comes down under the wood, needed nailed all the way across the bottom, and somebody somewhere along the lines replaced that sheet metal, so it doesn't quite fit our wood. So we're going to have to put a little bit of a shim there to fill in that gap. Otherwise, the other alternative is to bend the sheet metal around, and that gap is a little too thick to bend. We had to If I can flip the camera around here, maybe flip me around. So, I don't know if you can see this or not, but we put a, where am I here? Okay, we put a wood shim in here, really just a paint stick, but that allowed us to nail this edge up along here, and then we'll paint that black, and it just to keep things tight. I mean, it's not critical. We had to get under here and check all of our nuts and bolts and washers. I did find one bolt in the prop shaft that was loose. Don't know how or why, but this is what happens over time. You know, you put a bolt in, and that's the first rule, is never put a bolt in unless you tighten it. And for some reason, whether it was lack of access or whatever, I didn't tighten that one bolt. And good thing we were able to find it. We've got our exhaust pipe. We made one cut in it to change the angle. We're going to make another cut, and I think that'll be fine to sweep right back through here. We got our Speedo cable hooked up, and we're going to have to put some little brackets in there to hold it out of the way. Some little clamps up along the firewall, because it's kind of right where the exhaust wants to be. Imagine that. But this is the deal now, as just we've got a punch list of 100 little things that need cleaned up. We had to drill holes up through the bottom there to be able to put the front bolts in for the floor pans, the wood floors. We got that. So we just keep ticking little things off one at a time, and hopefully the weather's changing here and we'll be ready for it.